Hi, I'm Mike Sargent, and this is Arise on Screen.
If anybody has black parts, I need them, okay? I only work in black. And sometimes very, very dark gray.
Before it even hit the theaters, Warner Brothers was readying a sequel to the Lego Movie. Clearly, they expect it to be a mega hit. We'll tell you what we think here.
How'd you meet Jack? Because I work on the film, sometimes. So if you ever,
He was one of the most versatile actors of the 21st century, and his loss rocked the industry. Today, we take a look at the career of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
We have some unfinished business.
Has George Clooney lost his Midas touch? The star's latest movie, The Monuments Men, isn't receiving rave reviews from critics. Find out what our critics think, this and more on Arise on Screen. Hi, I'm Mike Sargent, and welcome to Arise on Screen, your global home for films both on screen and behind the scenes. So let's get to it. First, this week's box office winners. In the #1 spot, again for the third week in a row, is Ride Along. #2, That Awkward Moment. #3, Mark Wahlberg's Lone Survivor. #4, Frozen, which has made an amazing $361 million. And rounding it out at #5, Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit.
The victors of the 74th Hunger Games, Katniss Everdeen and Peter Malak.
Filmmakers of the Hunger Games movies have decided to digitally recreate late actor Philip Seymour Hoffman for a major yet-to-be-shot scene. Hoffman had almost finished filming The Hunger Games, Mockingjay Part 2, before he died of a heroin overdose.
Joseph's coat was elegant, the cup was fine.
The tasteful style was the ultimately good design.
Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat began as a concept album in 1969. Then it went on to become a global stage phenomenon in the 70s, and then a live-action movie in 1999 with Donny Osmond. Now, the Broadway smash is being turned into an animated film being executive produced by none other than Sir Elton John. Director Doug Ellen tweeted a first look from the set of the much-anticipated new Entourage movie, where fans got their first glimpse of Adrian Grenier as Vincent Chase in costume as Dracula. In casting news, Evangeline Lilly of TV's Lost is in early talks to star as the female lead in Marvel's Ant-Man, opposite Paul Rudd, who's in the title role. Actor Michael Douglas plays the classic Marvel character Dr. Hank Pym, the inventor of the shrinking technology.
I think he's a good wingman.
In other casting news, Miles Teller, who we interviewed, along with Michael B. Jordan and Zac Efron for That Awkward Moment, has auditioned for the role of Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four reboot. If Teller lands the role, this will mark the return of him acting with Michael B. Jordan, who is already signed on to play the Human Torch. And in festival news, the Berlin Film Festival kicked off its 64th year with its opening night film, Oscar-winning director Wes Anderson's Grand Budapest Hotel, to a packed house. The fest also honored late Philip Seymour Hoffman with a special screening of his Oscar-winning performance in Capote. And here in New York, the 4-day-long Athena Film Festival is underway. The 4-year-old festival celebrates women both in front of and behind the camera. The event ends on February 9th. Today, I'm joined by film critics and culture blogger Aisha Harris.
Hello. And
film critic and, amazing person, Diva Vélez of thediva.com. Is it thedivareview.com?
Thedivareview.com,
Right.
Thank you.
So, ladies, we're going to be talking today about two of the films we're talking about are written and directed by women. And as you know, most of the films, especially what comes out of Hollywood, are written and directed by men, and probably white men. And most of the films are reviewed by white men. So I'm glad it's us doing what we're doing. But I have to ask you, I want to know who your favorite female directors are. You first, Aisha.
That's kind of a difficult question, but I'd have to say Catherine Bigelow is probably my favorite. And I've only seen one of her movies, but Ava DuVernay, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Wow. I love Middle of Nowhere, and I'm excited to see what else she does.
What she's doing. Well, yeah. You know about the new movie she's doing about the voting in the 60s.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And what about you, Diva?
Co-sign on Bigelow. She's had me since Near Dark, but I would...
Near Dark.
Near Dark.
Great,
Very underrated
great vampire film.
thriller.
Great film. Go ahead.
But I would have to say, and I have to give rights and propers to Miss Dorothy Arzner, who was the very, very first female feature director in Hollywood.
Yes, she was.
And she directed my favorite actor, Clara Bow, and Katharine Hepburn, and she invented a whole bunch of technology that's still used today.
Wow. I have to say that's pretty good. Well, my favorite female director, it's very hard for me to even say because there are so many that I do like. But I have to say I really like Kathryn Bigelow as well. And I really did like Near Dark. I really did. I thought that was a great movie.
Go ahead when you're ready.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. I've just been bat-mailing on my bat phone.
When we come back, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and the Star Wars characters all in the same movie? It's the Lego Movie. We'll tell you all about it next on Arise on Screen.
To the Batmobile! Dang it.
To the invisible jet! Dang it.
The others are doing.
The great thing about Arise Entertainment 360 is that we cover the 360 of entertainment. Food, fashion, lifestyle, culture. We're able to cover it all. And the thing I love most about the show is we're able to do a stunning combination of high and low. So we can talk about Rihanna on the red carpet, but we can also speak about high art with people like Sanford Biggers and Hank Willis. We actually spend quality time with our guests and we really get to know them. It's really intriguing because we get a 360 look at our guests.
Arise Black Film History Moment, Gordon Parks. Gordon Roger Alexander Buchanan Parks was an American photographer, musician, writer, and film director. He was the first African American to work for Life magazine, but he is best remembered as the director for the 1971 film Shaft.
I think that people in America do care about what happens throughout the world.
Global warming is probably something that has to be addressed sooner rather than later.
From Somalia and the genocide there, and that's something people don't know about. They have no idea the brevity of that situation.
The first thing I think about when I think of Africa is like war and famine and disease.
And right now with the tsunami that happened or the earthquakes in, Japan, we always look out for other people.
Arise News, every culture, every angle.
Is waiting for you in your office.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Would you cancel my 2 o'clock? This next meeting could run a little bit deadly.
That was a scene from Warner Brothers' new animated film, The Lego Movie, which opened this weekend and features an all-star voice class, including Morgan Freeman, Will Ferrell, Channing Tatum, and Liam Neeson. Welcome back to Arise on Screen. With me in the studio are film critics Aisha Harris and Diva Vélez. So, I'm going to give you my review first because I have to say I walked into seeing the Lego Movie not really that interested in seeing it and wondering why this film is going to do so well. But I have to say, having seen the film, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it not so much as a kid looking at something I used to play with when I was a kid, but I enjoyed all the pop culture references. I enjoyed all the in-jokes. I especially enjoyed the little Star Wars homage, and they actually got Billy D. Williams to voice his Lego character. That alone would make me like the movie. So I have to say, if the question is whether or not this movie, if Lego Movie can build an audience, I think it will. It's on track to make over $68 million this weekend. So I'm going to ask you first, Diva, what did you think of the movie?
Everything is awesome.
Everything is awesome. That's a good T-shirt. I like that.
I think it's a good song, too.
It's a good song.
It is absolutely wonderful and enervating and energetic, psychedelic, nostalgic and warm. And those pop culture references are so much fun.
Yes, they are.
It's just a blast. I expected a bit from this because I love those guys. I've loved Phil Lord and Chris Miller since Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and 21 Jump Street. So I hoped for the best, and I got it.
And they have sequels to those two films coming out this year.
I am so excited for both of those. Thanks.
And what did you think, Aisha?
I loved it as well. I went in kind of, sort of like you. I was kind of ambivalent about it, and I'd heard good things about it, but sometimes you hear good things and then you're disappointed. But,
often.
Yeah. But I really, really enjoyed it. It was fun. Again, the pop culture references, the voice cast was great. Morgan Freeman, Will Arnett. I love Will Arnett as Batman.
Of course. Will Arnett did a great Batman.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, let me ask you a couple things. First of all, why do you think that it is so popular? Why do you think so many people want to see it? It's huge right now. They say that this may open bigger than Toy Story 3. So, I mean, do you think it's the fact that it's been around for 50 years? What's your thought on that?
I mean, I think that's a huge part of it. Like you were saying earlier, there's kind of this nostalgia and this factor of like people have been playing with these toys for years, and it plays on that. But I also think part of it could be it's February. There's not much else to choose from.
They're smart to do
and,
that.
Yeah, and you know, it's got a great cast. So.
Do you agree with that?
I do. I also think that Lego has had a huge renaissance. I think that with their sets they've come out with, like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and the video games, and now they just released the Simpsons set. I think, and the brick films, which are huge on YouTube, that it really is. They've embraced pop culture and become young again, and I think it's just pop culture embracing them back.
Now, question for both of you: did you play with Legos as a kid?
Yeah. I did. Not the fancy sets.
You
I
didn't
had like
build
the basic.
cities? Oh,
no,
okay.
no. I mean, I was the creative kids who just like built whatever I wanted, and I guess that's kind of the premise of the movie is like,
it is.
Let's not always be so confined to these instructions and do what you want. So.
Well, I have to tell you, the most fun thing about the movie, besides the Star Wars, was hearing Liam Neeson be completely silly, playing good cop, bad cop, spinning that. That was great to me. Just to hear him being silly, because I've never seen him really do a comedy, except, you know, those light romantic comedies. I thought that was great. We're going to move on to our next film. Our next film is a film called The Pretty One. The movie stars Zoe Kazan, and it's a coming-of-age comedy about identity, loss, and a wallflower who finally learns how to break out of her shell. Kazan plays twins Laurel and Audrey.
What do you want to look like? Her, I guess? Wait, are you guys twins?
We haven't had the same haircut since before Mom died.
So I enjoyed this movie. I thought that it started out good. Better than I expected it to be. I thought it, you know, as a coming-of-age movie, I thought it definitely dealt with some issues that I think that, you know, we can all relate to, being uncomfortable or sometimes living in the shadow of a relative or a friend, that kind of thing. Though I have to say, as the movie went on, it got a little confusing about why she knew so little about her sister, which in some ways I think was speaking about their relationship, but generally twins do have a pretty strong bond. So that was a little bit of a conceit I didn't completely buy. I thought Zoe Kazan is an interesting actress. You know, I like that she's not traditionally pretty. She's kind of interesting, and she does interesting things. Overall, I liked it, but I have to say I didn't find it as compelling as I wanted it to be. What did you think, Aisha?
I was kind of in the same boat. I think you finally touched on what I didn't fully understand, because after watching it, I was like, it was okay, but it kind of falls apart in the middle and the last third. And I think part of it is like, how did she know? So how did all of these people not know who she was? Like, even know she had a sister, or the fact that she's taking on her sister's role after she dies. And it just felt, the last third felt rushed to me, and it didn't really come together for me at all at the end.
Yeah, I enjoyed the opening act, the first few scenes. I thought it was going to be really quirky and unusual and fresh. And then the confusion about how does she not know anything about her sister to be able to impersonate her properly. And then it just felt like everything was just falling into place because it was supposed to. Everything felt incredibly formulaic, even though it didn't make sense. It should have been better. It could have been better.
Now, let me ask you this. There are certain sensibilities about it that I did like. And for me, those came from the fact that it was a female writer-director. And I can almost always tell, because there are things that when you watch, if you watch a lot of movies, as we do, you see things. Could you tell, and were there any things about it that made it, made you know that it was a female writer-director?
Honestly, for me, not really. I couldn't pick out anything in particular that would make me immediately think this was a female director, writer.
I actually feel like the sensitivity between the sisters, they really care for each other.
When they did get together.
When they did get together, I thought that their relationship, which I was kind of unhappy didn't go on a bit longer. I actually had not seen a male director do anything like that before, and I enjoyed that. I wish it could have gone on a little more.
Thank you. And still to come, remembering the extremely talented Philip Seymour Hoffman. You're watching Arise on Screen.
One of the great things about Arise Entertainment 360 is we have this Arise to Your Health segment, which really focuses on the holistic approach of being healthy. So we do everything from working out to juicing to getting in shape by doing fun exercises like bouncing on a trampoline or wearing these bouncy boots on our feet when we're jumping all over the set. We've done karate, we've danced the weight off, we've done just about everything. And of course, I love when we eat on set, but we do it in a very healthy and clean way.
I think media and reporters have a lot to answer for.
AIDS, hunger, people not having running water, the things that we just take for granted.
I think the most important issues in the world today are education and poverty.
Terrorism and war, I guess, is always. It's always an issue, and the quality of life of certain groups of people in certain areas.
I think inequality.
Arise News, every culture, every angle.
Arise News is a different kind of network. We are able to tell our own stories, and we're able to cover stories in a way that other media outlets don't do. We've got world-class journalists, veteran journalists who have been in this industry for decades, not just in front of the camera, but behind the scenes as well. Arise News is a place where we can tell stories in an interesting, factual, inclusive way like no one else in the business can.
But when I got to the apartment, I could see that Joe was in even worse shape than I was. He grabbed my hand and he said to me, "Talk." Hey, talk about anything, you know? I mean, any subject in the world. Don't worry whether it'll interest me or not. Just talk. So I won't break down. He couldn't bear to be alone with his thoughts. It was too painful.
You're watching a scene from Philip Seymour Hoffman's Oscar-winning performance in the 2005 film Capote. As we all know, Hollywood and moviegoers lost this tremendous talent who died of a heroin overdose here in New York City. Welcome back to Arise on Screen. Again, with me in the studio are film critics Aisha Harris of Slate.com and Diva Vélez of thedivareview.com. So we're going to talk a little bit about Philip Seymour Hoffman. And one of the things, to me, the two words that describe him best are diversity and intensity, because he plays really diverse characters and he's very intense. He's known for being a real method actor. But, I don't know if you've seen his early work when he started on Law & Order. He was 24 years old. This is back in 1991. And you could see in this, just as a court scene, you could see what an intense actor he is and that he was going to have a bright future. And I have to say, the other thing, too, is the relationship he had with Paul Thomas Anderson. Because he was in Hard Eight, Paul Thomas Anderson's her first film. Then he was in Magnolia, who was in Boogie Nights, which I think is your favorite.
Yes, it is.
Hoffman. Now, tell me, why did you like him so much in Boogie Nights, and was that the first time you had seen him?
That, I think, was the first time he registered to me, and I feel like he completely stole that film. I felt like that performance as Scotty with the long hair and the tank top, I mean, this is somebody who had no self and just poured everything into this pathetic, heart-rending character.
Now, you, Aisha, you say you're a fan of which film? What's your favorite?
I would say The Master is that's definitely the most recent Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Now, what did you love about him in that? What made you love that?
I think it was, Joaquin Phoenix got a lot of attention for that role because it was a very physical, visceral, big role, and I think he should have, but I think Hoffman playing against that was just like completely different in his own world, but within the world as well. And he just registered to me as like this force to be reckoned with, even more so than Phoenix did for me. So,
well, you know, it's funny what you say, force to be reckoned with, because in 1999, when he did, in the same year, he did Almost Famous, and he did a movie that a lot of people didn't see called Flawless. Did you ever see this film?
I haven't.
Well, Flawless is a film where he actually plays a drag queen, and he actually helps Robert De Niro rehabilitate. They live in the same building, and Robert De Niro is a macho, he's a queen, he's a fairy, that kind of character, and they actually end up having a great relationship. The movie's not great, it's a Joel Schumacher film, but his performance, it's so brave and so interesting, and especially in that same year, you really saw wow, he's the go-to guy for Hollywood for just doing character roles.
Yeah.
And when we were talking earlier, you mentioned something that I think is very interesting, that of late, in the last few years, he's been playing a bad guy. And he's a bad guy you kind of love to hate. You know, even in what he's doing in Hunger Games, because he's Philip Seymour Hoffman, you know there's got to be more to this character. Just because he's there, he wouldn't have even done this role if there wasn't more to this character. So you kind of like how they start to reveal that he's got more to do. So my only last question to you is, anything that you would say about him, how would you describe him as an actor?
I think in terms of the long legacy of brilliant character actors, he, for this generation, was the one. And, I mean, as you said, he brought more. He brought more. When you saw him on screen, you knew there was going to be depth. You knew there was going to be a great performance. So I think we're going to miss that.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've lost a great character actor.
As a film critic, I will most definitely miss watching him on screen. You're watching Arise on screen, and we'll be right back.
One of the great things about Arise News, it is truly a multicultural global channel that is paying attention to communities of all different kinds, not just here in the United States, not just in Africa, but all around the world, as we're giving a voice to the people that don't traditionally have the kind of a voice that a mass media organization can have. You're getting here at Arise News that you're not going to find at the other networks is a unique perspective, and I think that's part of what Arise is here to do.
Next up, George Clooney has a new movie out, The Monuments Men. Will it be a hit or a bomb? A lot of critics say bomb. We'll give you our take when we come back, here on Arise on Screen.
You want to go into a war zone and tell our boys what they can and cannot blow up. That's the idea.
News can definitely be improved when reflecting diversity.
A lot of mainstream news, they don't dive into it.
Who wants to hear about negativity all the time?
They only show what they think people want to know and not what people really should know.
World-based stories, that's what I enjoy the most.
I think diversity of news is important to the world so that everybody will be aware of their surroundings and what is happening today.
Arise News, every culture, every angle.
I'm Mike Sargent with a quick look at my DVD pick of the week, Mother of George, about a Nigerian couple living in Brooklyn who are having trouble conceiving a child, a problem that defies all cultural expectation and leads one of them to make a shocking decision that could either save or destroy their family. More from Arise on Screen coming up.
Many women have babies in their 30s.
But you haven't. My son worked hard, and he will always provide for you.
There's certain news programs that have a Democrat and a Republican, and all they do is, here's the Democrat saying his side, and the Republican say, you know, it's a little debate show, but not everybody is a sort of an extremist on one side or the other. People are in the middle a lot more.
Arise News, every culture, every angle.
We play music.
Calling London and all ships at sea.
We read you loud and clear.
How far will this thing reach? We'll find out tomorrow. Roger that.
That was a scene from Monuments Men, the new World War II movie written, directed, and starring George Clooney and based on the book and real-life events of a group of art specialists who were recruited to stop the Nazis and the war from losing the world's greatest treasures of art. Welcome back to Arise on Screen. Here with me in the studio are film critics Aisha Harris and Diva Vélez. Okay, George Clooney. I love George Clooney. I think he's a great filmmaker. I like him as an actor. I like his sensibilities. But this movie, to me, never quite came together. It looks like on paper this would have been great. But in practice, I felt you didn't have enough time to really get to know these characters. And so he just stuck in these great character actors who are all great. But there are moments in the movie where we're supposed to feel something, but we don't know anything about these characters. So he's listening to his granddaughter, and the other guy is playing it, and we don't even know why, because they supposedly don't even like each other. But he's doing this thing for him, and there's just tons of moments that just seem forced, and then the music is thrown on. And the thing about George Clooney is he's a good director. He's a good storyteller. This will be a bomb. That's my prediction. I didn't hate it, but no. Now, I'll ask you first, Diva, what did you think?
How do you get so many Oscar winners and nominees and Emmy winners in one space and have such a boring result?
The Monuments Men. No, sorry. How do you do it? Okay.
I just don't, they suffered so much to cut the character development, yet it felt like it dragged forever. They took so many shortcuts. It had so little charm, so little development. I'm just astounded that it was so lacking.
Yeah. Astoundingly lacking. Would that be your quote?
I think that might be my tagline.
Astoundingly lacking. Aisha, what did you think?
The same. I mean, it had so much promise, and I think that the movie itself felt that it had that promise and knew, like a lot of the reviews I've read after seeing it all echo the same smug, and it feels incredibly smug. Like they knew that this all-star cast, like they don't even do anything really. Like Balaban and Murray together, like you would expect like so much more, like better dialogue, a tighter script, and it just kind of it does drag.
Well, the thing is, I think the script in some ways was too tight. It was so tight that it just felt put together and manufactured. And the thing about it is that, it's based on a true story. It's a fascinating concept, a fascinating story. But then as it plays out, you're kind of like, yeah, I guess this is not really great as a movie, is it? Sort of like the Fantastic Four. It's like, well, you put the thing on screen, it's really not going to work for him to have a girlfriend, So I have to say, I was disappointed. I didn't hate it, but, I was not even entertained. Our next film is a movie called Mars at Sunrise, which I love the title. Mars at Sunrise abstractly portrays the conflict between artists on either side of Israel's militarized borders and explores how a powerful creative mind survives and can actually thrive under pressure. Quickly, what did you guys think of this movie? Do you think it worked?
It was a little too abstract for me at times. I liked it at the beginning, especially the kind of fake out where you think it's going to be about this woman, this American woman, and then it turns into being not about her really at all. But I think it just, there's a lot of artsy things going on and cutting, and it got confusing, honestly, sometimes.
And what about you, Diva?
I enjoyed the ingenuity and the creativity, but I kind of felt like it was so overused that it became gimmicky and kind of lost the focus on the story, which could have been very interesting from both sides of the border. But I feel like it got in its own way.
Well, I have to say, I'll give my quick review. I felt the same way. I thought its intentions were good. I thought it had some very interesting things to say. I liked the idea, but I did feel it in some ways got weighted down by its own conceit of having this abstract imagery. It didn't completely work as a narrative film. And though I think experimental film is great, and you can do other things with film than narrative, but when you try to make a narrative and blend it, even sometimes big directors can't do it right. Yeah. But I do have some sad medical news to report out of Hollywood. Leonard Nimoy, the actor-director best known as Mr. Spock of Star Trek, who reportedly quit smoking more than 30 years ago, has been diagnosed with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. The 82-year-old actor is admonishing his fans to please quit smoking. Now, you're talking to like a huge Star Trek fan. How did this news hit you?
This is unbelievable, but I feel like with the good vibes of Trek is Everywhere, we may have him for a while yet.
You It's very sad.
You concur?
Yes,
Okay.
I concur.
Well, I have to say smoking is illogical. So it's been a lot of fun, and I hope you guys will come back because this was really good. I really enjoyed it. And I'd like to thank you both. Film critic, cultural blogger, Aisha Harris of Slate.com. Film critic, amazing woman, Diva Vélez of thedivareview.com. I'm Mike Sargent, and we'll be back next week to talk more movies here on Arise on Screen.